Welcome to World Insight. Please subscribe and hit the bell icon for more breaking updates. The year 2025 marked a turning point in North American history, a moment when the world's longest peaceful border suddenly became the front line of a new conflict. For generations, the border between Canada and the United States had symbolized friendship and cooperation, but now, that legacy was under threat. Tensions between the two countries, simmering for months beneath the surface, finally erupted into the open, catching many by surprise. It all began with former President Trump's offhand suggestion that Canada should become the 51st state, a comment that stung deeply in Canada and was widely seen as disrespectful. The mood soured almost overnight. American anthems were booed at hockey games, and a sense of Canadian identity felt suddenly under siege. Social media exploded with outrage, and talk shows debated the insult. Then came the real blow. Washington imposed a 25% tariff on Canadian and Mexican goods and a 10% tariff on Canadian energy exports. The economic shockwaves were immediate, hitting industries from lumber to oil. The White House claimed the move was about illegal immigration and fentanyl, but to most Canadians, it felt like a thinly veiled economic attack, targeting their livelihoods and sovereignty. Prime Minister Trudeau called the tariffs very dumb, and even political rivals like Ontario Premier Doug Ford united to retaliate, slapping a 25% surcharge on electricity exports to U.S. states. For once, Canada's leaders spoke with one voice. The message was clear: Canada would not be bullied or pushed around, no matter the size of its neighbor. Across the country, indignation turned into resolve. Communities rallied, waving flags and demanding action from their leaders. Foreign Minister Mélanie Joly summed it up: "We're insulted, we're mad, we're angry." Her words echoed the national mood. This was no longer just about trade, it was personal. The sense of betrayal ran deep, affecting workers, families, and the very idea of what it meant to be Canadian. The tariffs were seen as an attack on Canadian workers and the very fabric of a trusted relationship that had taken decades to build. The friendly neighbor to the north was now standing firm, united and ready to push back against Washington's pressure, determined to defend its dignity and future. In times of crisis, a nation looks for a voice, someone who can channel its fears, hopes, and determination into action. When uncertainty looms, people search for a leader who can speak not just to them, but for them. In 2025, that voice was unmistakably Mélanie Joly. She emerged at a pivotal moment, stepping into the spotlight when the country needed clarity and courage. As tensions escalated, Joly stepped up, not with the usual diplomatic caution, but with the fire and conviction of a leader ready for a fight. Her words cut through the uncertainty, offering Canadians a sense of direction. When Trump made his infamous 51st state comment, Joly shot back without hesitation: "This is not a joke anymore." Her response was swift and unflinching, signaling a new tone in Canada's stance. She called out the U.S. tariffs as a bogus excuse, cutting through the noise and speaking directly to Canadians' anxieties. Joly didn't just address the policies, she addressed the underlying fears and frustrations of everyday people. Her message was clear and unwavering: "We cannot let our guard down, we need to fight back." She urged Canadians to stand together, to refuse to be intimidated or divided. Joly became the face of Canada's resistance, rallying the country and sending a message to Washington and the world: Canada is sovereign, and it will defend its interests, no matter the challenge. Her authenticity resonated. She spoke as a Canadian who shared the public's anger, frustration, and hope, and she outlined a clear path forward that people could believe in. Joly balanced indignation with strategy, assuring Canadians their government had a plan and was prepared to act decisively. She brought both passion and pragmatism to the table. Her leadership became a focal point for unity, turning vulnerability into determined action. Canadians from all walks of life found common cause in her words and her resolve. The country rallied behind her, finding strength in her resolve and inspiration in her unwavering commitment to Canada's future. In a moment of crisis, Mélanie Joly gave Canada not just its voice, but its backbone, a leader who stood tall when it mattered most. Words alone couldn't shield Canada from tariffs, so the government launched a $5 billion strategic response fund. This immediate war chest targeted the auto sector, Ontario's economic backbone, helping companies survive the 25% tariff and avoid mass layoffs. The fund also supported steel, aluminum, and lumber, helping industries pivot from U.S. dependence to new global markets. It wasn't just about survival, it was about strategic investment and adaptation. Joly's diplomacy was backed by action. Her trip to Japan reassured major investors like Honda and Toyota that Canada remained a stable partner. The fund proved Canada was serious about protecting jobs and industries. It was a bold move in economic statecraft, signaling resilience and resolve. Beyond immediate relief, Joly unveiled a bold three-point industrial strategy to reshape Canada's economy. First, market diversification and direct support, hundreds of millions for steel and lumber, helping companies find new partners beyond the US. Second, a Buy Canadian policy, with agencies like Build Canada Homes, and a new defense investment agency driving demand for Canadian materials and manufacturing. These initiatives aim to create a self-sustaining internal market. Third, investing in people, boosting funding for science, research, and innovation, especially in fields like quantum computing. Canada aimed to attract top global talent, especially as US immigration tightened. "We believe in science. We believe in research," Joly declared. The strategy was about more than defense. It was a vision for a future built on innovation and independence. Canada was seizing its moment to chart a new course. At the heart of Canada's new vision is a $5 billion bet on artificial intelligence. The goal: build a sovereign AI ecosystem, turning US protectionism into a Canadian advantage. The government partnered with Toronto's Cohere, aiming to create a global AI champion, and avoid past mistakes like BlackBerry and Nortel. With the US imposing steep fees on skilled visas, Canada rolled out the welcome mat for top tech talent. Appointing Evan Solomon as Minister of AI and Digital Innovation signaled a new era. The challenge is real. US investment in AI dwarfs Canada's, and the brain drain persists. But Canada's pitch is stability, quality of life, and a clear national vision. The hope anchor innovation at home and lead in the technology of the future. Canada's new strategy marks a shift from export dependence to building a robust domestic market. Agencies like Build Canada Homes and the Defence Investment Agency are designed to channel billions into Canadian industries, creating steady demand for homegrown materials and products. Every new housing project and military contract now prioritizes Canadian suppliers, supporting jobs and insulating sectors from global volatility. The Major Projects Office fast-tracks national infrastructure, unlocking billions in economic activity and streamlining approvals. This coordinated effort aims to foster self-reliance, innovation, and skilled employment. By using government procurement as a lever, Canada is building a virtuous cycle of domestic production. The Buy Canadian revolution is about more than policy. It's about national resilience. Canada is determined to shape its own economic destiny. The 2025 den vill starli kondoli by the 25 May stam. On Stouts 45 trade crisis forced Canada to ask a difficult question: what does it truly mean to be Canadian, independent of the US? For decades, the two countries had been deeply intertwined, but the crisis exposed vulnerabilities and sparked a national conversation about self-definition. Leaders like Mélanie Joly responded with bold new policies and a renewed sense of self-reliance, determined to chart a course that reflected Canadian values and priorities. The Strategic Response Fund and a sweeping industrial strategy became the building blocks for a new national identity, aiming to foster innovation and economic independence. Canada is now investing heavily in its own industries, supporting homegrown innovators and opening new markets. Determined to be a driver, not just a passenger in the North American economy. The challenges are real. US economic power is immense, and the risk of brain drain remains a constant concern for Canadian talent and businesses. Success will require not only political will, but also relentless innovation, adaptability, and a willingness to embrace change at every level of society. Yet this turning point has awakened a new ambition and a sense of unity among Canadians from coast to coast. Canada is standing up, not just to a trade partner, but for itself, and for a future defined on its own terms. The anger and frustration of 2025 have become a powerful catalyst for change, fueling a collective drive for progress. Canada is rediscovering its strength and identity, more confident and ready than ever to lead on its own terms, forging a new path for generations to come.